I thought I had another 5 minutes there, but no, it's time to go.
No. If you want, we can take the 5. We can take the 5 because
Oh
I
no,
told
it's live
everyone
now.
it's
No, we're live now. We're live now. We made it.
oh,
We made it on
thrilling.
time. Yeah. So we got the Jacob Calta again. He's back.
After I know you can't get rid of me. It's like a bad cold.
When was it? When was the last time? Was that like?
Was it over a
That
year?
was last fall. That was last fall. You caught me while I was working on my senior thesis because of I think it was like media literacy we were discussing, and I wasn't quite all there because I was pinballing between classes and shooting the film, and it was a wonderful
Last
time.
fall. Okay, right. I would have
Last
like. It
fall.
feels like it was like 2 years ago or something. But
It
that's
kind of
not.
does. Kind of does.
That's when I was back. I was still out in the shed. I'm going to be back in the shed soon. I finally ordered a booster for no reason. Nothing changed or nothing I know about that I did or anything. The internet stopped reaching the shed, at least adequately to do a stream without freezing up and causing lag and nonsense. Yeah, so I had to stop going out there. And in fact, I basically stopped doing streams altogether for a while. I was like, "Fuck this."
I know there's
But
like
now-
a giant gap there in the upload schedule.
there was no schedule. I was like, "Oh fuck this! I'm busy. I don't want to do this right now." So I just stopped.
I can't blame you. Can't blame you.
I'm going to try and do more now. Well, I'm doing a bunch for August, and then I'll just go back to doing them. I'll do them casually enough, but maybe I'll try to do one once a week. It does help, even if I don't have the hugest audience on YouTube, but it's like they're there, and people are always like, "When are you going to do one?" Oh, that's there, and they're happy to see it, so it's fine. Like
Yeah, of course. And also, I came on because I actually enjoyed my time here. I'm also not as self-conscious as I was, 6+ months ago. Anyway, so all's well.
You've undertaken a complete change in personality, have you, over the 6 months? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe not a complete change, just to become a bit more sedate. A lot's happened over the past 6 months. A lot of IRL shit I won't get into, but I've also been focusing a lot on just, getting down and into it with the craft. So
yeah, someone just said, Eric Wag says, you guys are both putting out work like mad right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I know you're hauling ass with Aegeon, and I know the grind never stops at Ye Olden 365 on top of all the other shit I'm doing.
Right. What other shit are you doing? You mean like the music and the?
Well, yeah, because I still do music, but not as frequently. I'm also supervising certain secret projects, shall we say. And apropos of nothing, I also am currently the graphic designer, layout editor, video editor, in-house composer, general handyman over at Anvil, the new Iron Age magazine. Yeah, right. No, and we are in the heat of funding issue 2, and we're still taking submissions for issue 3. And of course, issue 1 has made its way out into the world, and we've gotten pretty solid reviews, so I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, I haven't.
I should pick that up. I don't. I saw an ad for it, I think, but I didn't have time to order it yet.
But I should, and I'll get it and have a look at. So it's just like it's like a magazine, and it has stories in it, but it's also kind of like general Iron Age promotion stuff as well. Is that what?
I'd say what's taking shape is a genre magazine. We're open to SFF, horror, just kind of running the gambit overall. There's a bit of a heaviness to it. There's a bit of a grit to some of the stories we ran in issue 1, and of course there's a bit of a horror flavor happening with issue 2 because the trailer, the score I wrote for that trailer was pure Bernard Herrmann worship. Lots of psycho strings and stuff like that, which is really fun to write, especially when the big pipe organ comes in.
Yeah, that's good. And what did you obviously used a simulated pipe organ, or did you get a real pipe organ?
God, I wish I could get a real. God, I wish I could record with a real orchestra, man. Some of the string sounds are probably the best I've heard yet, especially because they're very cold and very, no vibrato. So it's closer to what Herrmann usually aimed for when performing with real musicians live in studio. So that certainly helps some in bringing that to life, and it's probably some of the best sounding synthesized orchestral material I've done, because I've heard a lot of really crap synth stuff. Everyone grabs their Proteus 2 rack mounts, and it's like, oh sweet, it makes the Whistling Joe thing from the X-Files theme, and nothing else worthwhile.
I have a Korg keyboard, and I just run it
Oh,
through an app.
really?
I run it through an app and record it like you would like recording like a guitar or whatever. Sounds pretty good,
Very,
actually.
very cool. What model is it exactly?
Oh, I'd have to look. Where is it? Hold on, it's here. It's right here somewhere. What model is it? I'm not an expert on keyboards. I keep it handy just to make funny sounds. Like,
No, I got you.
What model is it? Where does it say? Oh, I don't know. I'll tell you later. I can't see, and I don't want to actually pull it
Yeah,
down.
it's all good.
There's a bunch of shit on it. I don't want to pull it down off the shelf. It's right beside me, but it's dark. It's dark. I'm too busy. I'm busy.
No,
But,
I
no,
got
it makes a variety of nice sounds. That's all I need from a keyboard. It's not like a full proper keyboard length. It's like the little shorter one or whatever.
Oh, I know what
But
you're talking
yeah,
about.
You know, but I like to mess around with that too. Yeah.
It's almost close to like a mini Moog size, sort of in between that.
and actually, the ad I saw for the Anvil, I don't think I had the sound on, so I'll have to check out your. I didn't know you were scoring things as well. So that's good.
I just jam my thumb in as many pies as possible, whether people like it or not.
Well, I thought Anvil was made by
Yeah.
who's the guy? Who's the guy who started it?
That's Richard over at Iron Age Media,
Right.
and Daniel P. Riley, who is one of the 3 co-hosts, along with Richard and Royce over at A Drink with Crazies of Iron Age Nights. He's Daniel's story editor,
Right.
and I just kind of got tagged along because I gabbed with Richard a lot, in the lead up,
Right.
and basically he just took a chance on me, which thank God for that, and Lord knows I need plenty of those these days, especially since I'm not going to get too many chances elsewhere. At least
Right.
in the arts.
He took a chance on you and said, "Here, just do all the graphic design and all the music." And what else did you say?
Whatever. Video editing. Video ed. Yeah. So, and it's been a blast. It's been a blast. And also I'm actually kind of humbled to hear that the presentation of the magazine itself has gone over tremendously. I remember Alex over at Kursova saying it looks great as a physical piece.
Yeah, it looked really colorful, and I saw there was quite a few illustrations. So are those all from different people, or were you doing those, or somebody else?
I'm not that gifted in illustration, although I do want to get good enough to do like animatics for like potential animated shorts and what have you. But that was from a variety of people. I know Joe-san, and I don't pronounce some of the names, so some of the names are just going to be like me pulling it out from memory.
Joe-san.
But I remember Joe-san, because he works on Paladin Dragoon, who's here in the chat. Hello, friends.
All right,
welcome.
all right.
I've goaded enough people into coming here, hopefully of their own free will.
Yeah, it's always you always have to twist their arm.
Yeah. No, Josen came in, hauled ass on a lot of illustration work. We had great 2 other great artists, I believe Mitch Lillywhite and Eric Ninaltowski. I feel horrible because I botched the last name. And also one of the guys who worked on both Paladin's book and also works on 365 as lead artist, Kevin John Jacob. He was also featured in first issue. I think he was featured in the leadoff story, Thief of Peru. I love how I'm talking about this like it's ancient history when it happened just like fucking 3-4 months ago. Like we just got the big got the thing out the door in July, and I'm pretending like it's been 84 years.
It's always like that though. Even with Aegon or any of them, it's like the moment it's done, and it's like okay, you're supposed to like.
Dude, dude, that's how I felt about year 1 of 365. I'm all of a sudden, well, I mean, I felt that way when I had to assemble the 22 collection, which was a fucking nightmare. But then all of a sudden, as I keep writing these stories, and I am like, okay, building out plot lines in this direction, that direction, this direction. I know you can't see my hands because I don't know, they're getting jammed up a nice lady's rear.
Oh, right.
Tight framing.
A nice lady.
Yeah, looks like a nice lady.
No, but
I keep getting issues with these lately. I think I should probably either change it or like.
It's terrific art. It just is a little close cropped, is all.
Yeah, close cropped.
And it
also
doesn't help that I'm coming from like the lights of the pearly gates back there. But
you are like silhouetted and like you're like in early dawn or something. in the desert. Or
I'm in witness protection program, although it's not doing too good a job of it.
All right.
Anyhow.
So you've gone from
gangster to pulp.
You're doing Pulp Fiction.
Exactly.
So you know all those guys that like there's a whole little gang of you and you're all in close contact and you're all working away in that stuff. Anyways, that's good.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't know most of those guys you're talking about. Yeah.
No, I totally get it. And it's nice. It's nice having people you can bounce shit off of, and of course, there's nice to have people you can help game the algorithms with. Where it's like, hey, yeah, like, hey, this tweet ain't doing shit. Wing it at a bunch of people.
I should do that more. I kind
of just give up unless I'm like really excited. Be like, come on, share this. Then I'll be like, share this. Come on. But like, it's got to be like something I'm really excited. I feel like too much of a jerk to do it unless I'm like really, it's something I really am hyped about or something.
I'll put it this way: as penance for our backdoor deals, which shall remain anonymous until the actual thing comes out, just start throwing them my way, and all's well that ends well.
Oh, for the
for that thing that's taking forever. Yeah, no shit. Yeah. I was at that little delusion I had there. I must have been thinking about another job, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So it's even.
Dude. Sometimes I wake.
It's my fault.
There was no problem. There was just totally me forgetting. Don't worry about that. Like
but I also know the feeling because there have been days when I've forgotten like if I've ever done basic chores. And shit. Yeah. Oh, by the way, am I good to drop stuff in chat? Because I see someone's looking for links. So I'll just kind of cool.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go drop this because that's 365. That's my digital pulp. Love doing this. Totally.
How often is this anvil going to be coming out? Do you know?
Is it just whenever, or do you have a schedule?
We're aiming for quarterly. And it did not show up. Gee. All right, let's try this again.
Did it not? You can give it to me then. Give it to me in private chat, and I can do it.
All right, cool. Yeah, so let me go drop that. I'll just drop all the three usual. So there's that.
Yeah, I just you put it on your Twitter, so I just linked your Twitter in the description. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, no problem. Plus, I didn't come in, with a theme or anything. So I love how I all
just those two. I thought it wasn't a third.
Just those two for now, and the third's just Quality Candor, which is in the chat, so everyone can see it. You can boogie on down to that, because that I do want to bring back in a big way.
I guess, so you can't post in the chat unless it's like you could do it if you were in YouTube or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
It should be there now.
Fab.
But yeah, that's great. That little magazine and the whole, like when you were on last time, you're the first one who I heard talking about this Iron Age, and I didn't know what it was. You talked about it, and I was like, what is that?
What is
whoever started it? Or what?
Yeah, no, because it's also interesting too, because this is coming off of 9 trillion Twitter kerfuffles that I won't go into because. While that's happening, my ass is busy waking up at 3 just to catch Lost in Space over the air.
Right?
No, you still do that?
No. Well, actually, because I'm down here at my grandmother's place. She had since passed, but when I came down, I put it's all good. All things considered, that is. But when I came down, I put antennas because no one wanted to screw with cable, and also neither of the TVs were smart TVs, so there's no streaming or anything. And no joke, we got 3 oldie stations, and one of them, because we got both MeTV and the MeTV Plus thing, which is based out of Chicago, but is being broadcast all across the states. And literally at 3 a.m, they're airing fucking Lost in Space, and then at 4 is Space 1999.
Well, can you just record them and watch them? You can't record them.
Well, actually, I'm planning on buying box sets, but
Lost in Space.
Lost the OG, none of that weird 90s, reboot crap.
No.
But,
although there wasn't is that the movie? You mean the movie that?
Remember the movie?
Yeah, because the movie was the one with what was it, Gary Oldman, who did the Dr. Smith
Right.
thing.
I kind of wasn't bad in some ways. The movie, I remember thinking
it's got a great look to it.
Well, it had
got a
some,
great look.
and even the story was a bit reasonable sci-fi, a bit of time travel, and a bit of darkness in there with the kid.
Right.
And I don't know, it was a bit surprisingly not bad. I remember at the time thinking that, even though it was like a lot of silly stuff, like the girl is doing her vlog with her silly alien thing, all that crap. Kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But
now,
it could have been worse.
Yeah, whereas the original Irwin Allen series for that first season is pure pulp entertainment, like literally in a serialized structure to boot. So every episode's ending on a cliffhanger. No, but also but also obviously the bigger draw was the bigger draw for me was Space 1999. Because
I've never seen that. I've actually never seen. Oh no, I've seen maybe I think one or two. I can't even remember. It's been so long, but I remember thinking it wasn't bad. The one or two I saw, I rember thinking, I should watch this.
I mean, I'm a Jerry Anderson freak to begin with. I was big on the Super Mario Nation stuff. I dig UFO, but Space 1999, especially everything from that first season, just feels totally unreal and other.
Okay, so let's just say right here, this is what I remember about you last time is your knowledge of like TV shows and pretty much
TV, films, music, basically anything of any creative inclination, really.
But especially TV, your knowledge of like obscure and like the show, and like who the best season and the best person and the people involved and everything was pretty impressive. You were really
quite the autist about that,
which was good.
Pretty much. Well, I mean, it's also nice to have.
Nice to what?
Well, it's nice to have, because also for the record, it isn't just that. I can be just as much of I can have just as much tism over fucking music, film, literature, fine art. I mean, for God's sakes, the thumbnail this morning, I'm like, if you don't mind, why not a Chesley Bonestell? Just out of hand. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It fucking was 9 a.m. over here. Is that I'm feeling like a Bonestell, a nice piece of space art for the thumbnail. Like that's just sometimes how the mind goes. Just all of a sudden, I'll just pull something out of the air.
Well, it is a nice one. Yeah, it is a good one. Yeah, and the fact that you know his name and everything. Like I don't even remember most of them. Like I know the one. Even though I'm a great fan of that stuff. Like I'm not really
great remembering people's names at the best time, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it helps too because it helps build up enough of a library, like a mental back catalog to pull from. So that way, you're always referencing, pulling from, a variety of inspirations. But because of the kind of synergy of everything glomming onto each other, it never gets stale because it's, all of a sudden I'm envisioning this in the Hudson River School, but it's about robots and it's about, crazy, shit in the desert getting blown to hell and back.
Robots.
Robots.
Right. And what about you have a knowledge of music, you say? So what's your favorite genres of music, or do you just know everything about all the genres and you just have it floating around in your head?
I kind of pinball. I'd say the four corners for me that I pinball between are rock and everything that comes with it. So punk, metal, everything under the sun. Classical concert hall music, because the first stuff I was writing as a composer was classically inclined, which was I was gatewayed through film music. I think the first CD I ever bought on my own was Jerry Goldsmith's score to The Secret of Nim, which is a terrific score, just out of nowhere too. Because I grew up because I grew up with the film. I grew up with.
That was a great film. That is a great one. That's Bakshi again, isn't it? Ralph Bakshi. Am I wrong?
No, is Don. That's Don Bluth. That was the first big picture. That's the first big picture he did after breaking away with Disney. Because
Okay, hold on.
I get those guys mixed up. Yeah, Don Bluth. So he did that, and what else did he? What else was Don Bluth? I get him and Bakshi.
He did An American Tale.
Right. That one, but that wasn't as good. That was like that was his big later almost sellout phase.
That was the big musical. That was the big musical thing he did with Spielberg, James Horner.
Yeah, Spielberg. Fuck's sake. Yeah.
Then Then he did Land Before Time. Then he did All Dogs Go to Heaven. Had that kind of lull period where he was doing all the weird stuff like Thumbelina. Then of course, basically his big Disneyfication with Anastasia, which is still a fun musical film. And then out of nowhere, Titan AE at like the turn of the millennium, which I remember having a lot of fun.
I kind of remember. Yeah, I remember that. I don't think I even actually. I don't think I saw the whole thing. I think I started to watch it, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I just remember thinking it was going to be better than it was, and getting a bit bored, and I was busy with something else. This is years ago. This is a long time ago. I was busy with like something stupid. Like I think I had like a date, or I was like watching it with like a girl that was like in the early stages, so it was like not a priority to actually see the movie. And I remember getting so that's the last time I tried to watch it. I think so you're saying it's pretty good. Is it good or what?
Yeah, my memory of it at least. I haven't seen it in a while. I still Jesus Christ, this is how I've become the oldest young man on the face of the earth. I still have the fucker on VHS.
Oh my god.
I would have
thought you were too young to ever have VHS. I don't have my VHSs anymore, but I did. I used to.
Oh no, dude, and it's saved my ass on a few occasions. The most recent example being the only affordable copy I could fucking find of Richard Stanley's Hardware was as a $20 VHS.
What?
Do
you have to have that? Richard Stanley's
it's just the fucking Severin release is so blown out of proportion because it's been over 10 years since the thing was ever pressed, and because of all the rights issues with 2000 AD, because the story Shock, which I think I also have I have the original Judge Dredd annual, the 1981 annual that Shock first appeared in. Because all the rights issues with that basically caused it to get flushed down the toilet, even though it is still technically the property of Miramax. And they did that limited pressing with Severin sometime in 2009, and then it's been off the market ever since, and it's been fucking impossible to find. Even foreign releases are impossible to get for decent rates. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's just going to get worse. It's harder to find the good things like that. I was going to say though, I just think that you reminded me there that the classic era 2000 AD, as far as I'm concerned, just about trumps anything else. I mean, it's comics more than like Weird Tales kind of thing or whatever. But like I would say it's better when they're at their peak, possibly better than like heavy metal, even, and some of those other total classics. So it's similar, like on the same level, I would say, with like Metal Hurlant and that. Like they were good. They were really good.
I'd probably lean into that too, because there are that annual alone, that 81 annual alone has a lot of really fun stuff. There are some fucking hysterical Dredd stories in that book, and it's just total page turners. But the one thing I will say is that heavy metal will always have the variety there.
Well, that's true, and the sexy stuff in the.
Well, and also just me after I really got hip to a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the bande dessinée, and a lot of the names therein. All of a sudden, I'm flipping through this book, and I'm realizing the amount of actual because I was one of those guys who saw the film first, saw the 81 film, fell in love with it, and then was like, oh yeah, it's a magazine. Let me see and get some old issues. And this was back when you can find, dozens and dozens for like $2 a pop on the used market.
Yeah.
And, they haven't changed. I found some that are still going for like 4 or 5. And,
really
seeing as the current holders are imploding on heavy metal. I mean, who knows if it'll go up or down, but anyhow.
I have the whole first... is it at least first 20 or something, like reasonably well preserved upstairs somewhere. I keep and I don't I even keep my kids have seen all my Conan Saga and my 2000 ADs, but I don't let them see those because they're pretty raunchy in part. Like they're not old. Even my
oh yeah, totally.
My kid is turning 13 and probably he's old enough to look at it now, I guess. But I was looking at them recently and I forgot actually how raunchy some of them could be. It was like, oh my god,
right,
this is really just trying to shock you with the sex part.
Yeah, but
the art, was incredible. The art and a lot of the stories were good. And whenever there's the bande dessinée, I forget how do you say it.
Bande dessinée, I believe is the
bande dessinée. Like those guys, any of those guys, Mobius and any of that crowd were absolute geniuses, especially when it came to sci-fi. I thought, and drawing sci-fi.
Well, I mean the thing that blew me out of my seat too is that I'm going back to because I originally picked up like 2 used issues, just totally just throwing darts, whatever I could get on the cheap. And just a few weeks back, maybe last month or the month before, I started just reading a bunch of the stuff that I had on my shelves because I had Harlan Ellison's Alone Against Tomorrow. I sat down and read Life Hutch, which was, I believe, adapted in the that Netflix anthology, Love, Death, Robots. Yeah, I think that's the one.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and so I'm reading through a bunch of the stuff on my shelves, and so I pull off one of the issues of Heavy Metal, and all of a sudden I actually sit down and open the table of contents and have this sudden realization that I recognize all these names, and I finally understand the quality of these names. Like, not just the Mobius or the Richard Corbin. Like, I'm stumbling into like Enki Bilal, and I'm finding out there's a fucking Harlan Ellison story in an issue of Heavy Metal. I'm like,
yeah, or Dan
what the-
O'Bannon and guys like that.
Dan, I'd give a fucking, I'd give my spleen to find some of the
That one?
issues with Long Tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any of those. So those are the hardest to find, are they? Are those like the prize ones or what?
I know. Well, I think there's that. I know the first issue is kind of one of those, because it's Heavy Metal #1. It's kind of become a pain in the ass to find. But I know that's the case. I'd love to start getting my hands on the issues with crap. Who was the one that adapted Outland? I'm just asking you this just out of hand. Who's the one?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because it was this terrific comic adaptation of the Sean Connery film Outland from '81.
I didn't know that. I haven't seen that. I wasn't aware of that. That'd be good.
Yeah,
I like that movie too.
Yeah, I've been meaning to see it because, I mean, how can you go wrong with fucking High Noon in Space?
You've never seen it? I haven't seen it for years. I haven't thought about that.
I have
for so many
I have
years.
not. Well, there's a bunch of Peter Hyams stuff that I just haven't got a chance to. Like, I haven't seen Capricorn 1 yet, which I know I'd fucking eat up because I love that whole conspiracy thriller thing.
Yeah, Outland. But it's Outland is so funny because it has no reason to be set in space because it's essentially a kind of gritty noir cop drug story.
It's like a modern one in some ways. Yeah.
Except it's set in space, and just like for no reason, but it's great. That adds that whole weirdness. And Sean Connery and all that.
Yeah,
Sean Connery's always a good tough guy.
Oh my god, those fucking models! I could drool over them all day. That terrific practical effects. Oh my god,
CGI, yeah.
It's in front of the camera. It's actually tangible. Holy shit, makes a whole difference.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I haven't thought about that movie. That's another one I haven't thought about for you. See, this is it. Your vast knowledge of these things you pull out of your ass there, the names and things, but you're absolutely correct, and you have well established the proper value of the quality levels and the whole deal. Yes, you've assessed it very nicely.
Yeah.
You must be imbibing media all day, like really a lot.
Because you're quite young. You seem to have gone so far back into the past. No?
I kind of got lucky too in that I got started in high school when I had the freedom, when I had the time, when I had, the energy, and of course when I had the starry-eyed idealism before 2020 happened. And
2020?
everything.
What do you mean 2020? What?
No, as in before the year 2020. Because
okay. What?
Just kind of like the before and after, because that was I know that was a crap year for a lot of people, but I'll just add my it was a crap year for me too to the list. No, but in high school I had almost all the time in the world to really dig into this stuff,
right?
Because I grew up in a rural town. I grew up out in basically next to the middle of nowhere. And, I had my handful of friends would always, it'd always have to be like, make the time to go out and see them because they'd always be like across town and so forth. But no, when I was in high school, I'd be watching Turner Classic Movies. I'd be, looking up everything to get my hands on.
They don't show though, a lot of these things you're aware of. They don't just show on those old. You really have to dig for them. Because there's a lot of things I've seen like when I was a kid that I never saw. Like Outland. No one's mentioned. I haven't seen anything about Outland for I don't know.
Another thing too is that I learned the value of physical media early on because I grew up with a lot of different, not collections as in people set out to collect them, but I grew up with a family that still kept some of the old tapes around, that still kept, certain DVDs. I mean, I remember my grandfather on my mom's side, I inherited basically most of his movie collection, and this man was the collector in the family. And I remember the first thing I ever got while I was still alive is I'd gotten a 4-pack of science fiction films, and my ass at fucking 12 years old sat down to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. No one forced me. This wasn't for school. I just said, wow, this looks interesting. Popped the disc in and just prepubescent mind fried. Something changed. I was never the same thereafter.
Well, see, that used to be on when I was young. I'm much older than you. That's something like that would be on TV on a weekend, on a Saturday or Sunday. So you'd see it. I would have seen it several times just from watching TV. There would be a string of movies that they'd play over and over repeatedly. It would be like that, Fistful of Dollars. They kept playing because in Canada we grew up with like secondhand American shows that they would sort of replay or whatever.
Right.
So they would also replay. There's a shitty movie called Alligator where like someone flushes an alligator down the toilet in New York and it grows to giant size and kills people. That was a 70s movie. I remember that they would always play that. What was another really? Planet of the Apes. They'd always play Planet of the Apes. That was always on. That was a good one, actually. That's obviously excellent. And all those were excellent. But I remember loving 2000. I'd say 2010 is my favorite movie, to be honest. But when I was a kid, I only liked the first half with the monkeys and everything, right?
Right.
Because the rest is so slow. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. And what's going on? He's an old man. He's a baby. Fuck this, whatever.
Right.
It wasn't until I read the book. A buddy of mine in high school had the book when I was a bit older. Maybe junior high. Walter C. Clark book, and I read the book, and it explains really what's happening in a great detail. And then I could truly appreciate that. And then you can appreciate even more that Kubrick is so brave to just forget about trying to explain what's going on, just to do his visual,
letting you sit there and stew it. And I mean, maybe it's also it's, to be fair, part of that might have just been, one of those like, this is a thing that clicked for me, but also some of it too is that I grew up on the original Star Trek films, the first 6, and for whatever reason, again, I as a kid dug the hell out of the motion picture. I know everyone says it's slow. I know everyone says, it plods along.
No, it's the best one. Once again, you've shown in proper an educated taste in this matter. Yes, it is the best one. Yeah, I mean, the second one is, you can argue the second one is better, and I would not.
The second one's pure entertainment, and I love the hell out of it. But
it's great. It is really good.
But the first one, I think, literally, the first one sowed the seed of literally almost everything I really got into.
And it's a great RT. It's a great RT. It's not to the level of 2010, but it's a great kind of long, blowhard, long-winded RT movie of just like.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you have all these terrific, optical shots with all these various matte paintings being layered on
weird
top
shit
of
when they first. Yeah, and it was like it went on and on and on. It was
the magnificent model work, and I don't care what anyone says. The reveal of the Enterprise, especially with, once again, Jerry Goldsmith with that fucking phenomenal score, building and building and building until it just explodes in your face once you see the ship head on. That's stuff that if you have the patience, and a lot of people just don't have the patience for it, but if you have the patience for it, blows you out of your fucking seat. Because you let the music carry you in, and you let the sensation, and also when you're a kid too, you have a bit more imagination, so you're seeing this giant fucking ship in your mind. Like, it's not
it's a model. It's a model ship. It looks realer than some CGI.
Oh yeah, and it's lit beautifully. It's beautifully, and I think the story goes that some of that lighting, some of that very intricate lighting, was literally done by Doug Trumbull with dental mirrors.
Doug Trumbull did 2010 as well, and Blade Runner and all of them, right? That's the guy.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did Blade Runner. He was there on 2001. Doug Trumbull was.
Or 2001. Sorry, 2010. Fuck. 2001. That's what I mean.
Well, I mean, there's another Peter Hyams film. I guess this is like fucking the Ars Pressure Cast featuring Peter Hyams or something.
2010, you mean the sequel? Yeah,
2000, right. 2010, that was a Hyams picture.
I mean, but he should have tried a bit harder to follow up Kubrick.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
okay.
and
It was fine, but
yeah,
the story,
and I mean, at
the
least
story he was given probably wasn't the same kind of thing, and he
right.
didn't. He's not,
No,
you can't be Kubrick. You
yeah.
can't just
Yeah,
do a Kubrick.
and it's also one of those weird films, honestly, to do any sort of sequel with, even though it was based on source material. Clark did wind up doing, kind of a cycle of novels in that whole concept. Also,
Yeah.
good pointing out there in the chat. Silent Running was directed by Trumbull, and also he did Brainstorm, which I really, really liked.
Brainstorm, right? Is that the one where they die with the headset on and go to see hell and heaven or whatever? Is that the one?
That
It's got like
was
Christopher Lloyd and. Am I
that
confused?
was
Oh, that's Mindscape.
Christopher.
Is that Mindscape? Is that what it's called?
Mindscape, I believe that was with Dennis Quaid. That was
Okay, that's a different one.
45. Yeah, no, but Brainstorm, that was 83. It was the last film Natalie Wood did before she died in the whole boating accident.
Okay, and what happens in it?
It's about this device where people can actually read, brain patterns and
No, this is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking of. Yeah, and the guy dies.
Yeah,
the guy dies.
and it's
yeah.
And Christopher Walken is
Walken.
I
meant Walken, not Lloyd. So I'm messing
yeah,
up everything.
No, it's all good. It's all good, dude. You should see some of the flubs I make when I'm sometimes trying to pull this shit out.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah. Well,
no, but
you've been very good so far with names and.
But yeah, so it's
one thing you said I don't fully agree with is taste-wise. No, I mean you can't complain. Jerry Goldsmith is good, and he did some good scores. But I wouldn't. I really, in terms of the score, I would say the second Wrath of Khan was a much better score with what's his name that did that? He also did
James Horner.
James Horner. He did Krull and some other things too. That guy was amazing. And Aliens, I think. But in Wrath of Khan, he really did a good job, I thought. And Goldsmith, I also like. Goldsmith is good, but I always like resent slightly. And he annoys me now because in Legend, the movie Legend, I much prefer the Tangerine Dream soundtrack version, which you can't find anymore. And all you get is Jerry Goldsmith's version, which pisses me off. It's not half as good. So I'm always like, fuck this guy.
Well, on that we will disagree. Although I know one of my friends would be happy to hear that because he does prefer the Tangerine Dream score. And I will say, I love the Q. I love the cues. I love the Q Cottage from that score. That's total dungeon synth. The track Cottage from the album. Total
or the darkness's theme with the sitar and all that's good stuff. I like it. It's just odd. It's weird. It's like a prog rock.
Right.
It's very few examples of prog rock.
I mean, also
high fantasy.
Because you also get like John Anderson doing the songs, which to be fair, I'd trust him to do a better song than the airy fairy stuff that they did for the original score. But also I think the dress waltz. I know this is getting fucking myopic, where she has the dress on. That's a fucking tremendous cue. I love that scene so much.
You mean in the Tangerine Dream one? Is that what you mean?
No,
I mean
Jerry.
The other one. Oh, sorry. I don't even know the Jerry one because I don't even know the Jerry one.
I do like the richness of Goldsmith's score over Tangerine Dream, but I also think I've come to the conclusion that it definitely is like, how do you want your 80s fantasy to feel? Do you want it to have more of a classical bent? Do you want it to feel almost more like a fairy tale, or do you want it to have that weird synthy 80s veneer? And I mean, if you want the weird synthy 80s veneer, can't do better than Tangerine Dream. You really can't.
Did you ever see an Italian movie from around that time? What is it called? Something about hearts and it's knights. It's sort of like Excalibur, but it's like an Italian. Oh, what's it called? But it's got that kind of soundtrack. It's got like a synthy soundtrack, but it's all like they're knights and they're fighting and
the only 80s fantasy. The only 80s fantasy coming out of Italy with synthy soundtrack is Claudio Simonetti doing Lucio Fulci's Conquest, which is just a total clusterfuck.
I can't believe I haven't seen it. I know it. I've been keep meaning to watch it, and I have not seen it.
Hearts and Armor in the chat. Hearts and Armor.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, it could be better. It's not on the Legend tier.
Right.
But it's got that weird oddness. I love that 80s effect of like having a totally well done, expert cinematography. Everything looks very expensive. High special effects, fantasy or science fiction, but then it's got this weird, almost cheap sounding synthy soundtrack.
Totally.
Or, I don't know. It just sounds good. somehow it works.
Yeah. Although
Well, it's one of
also
those
to
things.
loop back around to the music question, to finish up our little four corners. So it's rock, classical, electronica, which is why, you know, I'm big on Tangerine Dream. I love a lot of John Carpenter's 80s stuff. You know, and also I came out of synthwave because I was writing synthwave stuff in high school and I was listening to synthwave in high school.
Right.
But I definitely do lean more towards emulation than the kind of pastiche of synthwave. Although
Right.
I'm kind of glad to see one of my predictions come true, which is, you know, people starting to blend elements of, you know, like later, like some of the 90s electronica stuff, like stuff coming out of Orbital and some of the house, you know, movement, and mixing that into the melting pot a little. So, you know, freshens up the sound a bit, but, you know, you still don't lose the 80s flavor. But yeah, no, so it'd be that, and then the final corner is jazz. I am absolute madman about jazz.
Oh yeah.
No, because some of it's the fusion stuff. Like there's saxophonist John Clemmer, who, oh god, I'm trying to remember the name of the album. It's this John Clemmer's Touch. I believe that's the name of the album. The name of the album is Touch.
You talk about it for 1 minute. I'll be like 1 minute. I just gotta do something real quick, okay?
No problem. I'll entertain the chat, which, by God, most of these people I know. Hello. And to those who I don't know, hello again. Yeah, so there's this John Clemmer album that I'm really big on. Let me just make sure that's also the title. Touch. Just to make sure I know what it is. Go to images, just like, yep, name of the record's Touch. So there's that. There's lots of the big names: Coltrane, Davis, Ellington. Also, this kind of veers away from it a little, but a lot of the Italian lounge stuff that was coming out.
Oh, okay, I'm back. Sorry, I skipped out on the jazz talk. Jazz is
No, it's okay.
not my scene. Well, I do like some jazz. I like jazz where it crosses over. I like crosses over to sort of orchestral movie soundtrack rock stuff, like
right,
like the soundtrack to
Oh shit! What's that movie with
where they kid in the 70s movie where they kidnapped the subway car? What the fuck? Oh, Pelham 123. You know that movie?
Yes.
Yeah, the soundtrack is amazing. Amazing jazzy rock kind of rolling.
I
don't know who did it,
David.
But
that was David Shire on that soundtrack, and it's fucking immense. I love that.
Yeah,
and I love
that. Of course, you know.
Yeah, well, it's that I love
name?
I love that specific era though. In because film is weird in that jazz, you know, everyone calls the jazz age historically like the 20s, you know, because that's when a lot of the swing bands came out.
Yeah.
But for film, there's this weird moment where in 51, A Streetcar Named Desire, directed by Elia Kazan, who did nothing wrong. Just to
what's the story? I don't know. What's the story with him? What do you mean?
He was one of the guys who testified at the House of Un-American Activities Committee.
For being a commie?
Because he was specifically, he was originally a member of the Communist Party back in the 30s, and he was totally disenchanted by all the stuff that was going on down there. I think around, and this is me pulling this off the top of my head, but I think around the time there was, you know, that fleeting moment where, you know, Hitler and Stalin were shaking hands for photo ops and what have you. Yeah. Or at least I think it was the German ambassador there, you know, and so he checked out. And when that whole investigation started, you know, and McCarthy fired up on his front in the Senate, he willingly went out and just named names. And,
right.
You know, it is what it is. And also, I still think he's one of the most gifted directors of all time. He's gotten some of the best performances I've ever seen out of anybody. Some of the rawest, most intense performances. And one of the best examples is A Streetcar Named Desire. Everyone remembers Brando. Everyone remembers Vivian Leigh from that film. And that's scored by Alex North, which is pure, almost kind of languid sort of jazz. Like it feels like the kind of stuff you'd hear down south in Louisiana, just during a sweltering summer day.
Yeah.
And then from there you get stuff like Elmer Bernstein on Man with the Golden Arm, the Otto Preminger film with Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like everything just explodes, where you have dozens of jazz composers coming in. And then you get Lalo Schifrin, not just doing
he
like,
was
the Mission
great.
Impossible thing,
Great. That guy was great.
But doing stuff like Bullet, which the opening titles to Bullet are just...
See, a lot of those guys. See, that was a great era. So this is the era when I would say I like jazz. I didn't really like jazz before that, and I wouldn't be a fan of like freeform jazz or jazz you might hear now. But that's those decades of jazz were amazing. There was guys like I think of the rocky jazz like Henry Mancini and then John Barry. I really love those guys.
But, no, they're terrific, especially.
But you mentioned Schifrin, Lalo Schifrin. Him and a lot of them were really influenced by bossa nova. And like even I think sort of Brazilian bossa nova and stuff, and there was and that really influenced a lot of the Italian, including Morricone and these guys, the Italian soundtrack guys, orchestral guys that were doing their thing. So there was a lot of weird bossa nova entered into this jazzy, rocky, weirdo classical music where they would just think of a guy like Morricone would just use all these random crazy sounding instruments and things to just make these brilliant things.
Oh, totally. Also, see you around, Raw. Thanks for dropping in. Lovely having you.
Goodbye.
But yeah, so that's one of the things I like too, is that crossover into the whole, I call it Italian lounge. There's no other way to describe it. It is literally just Italian lounge music. And everyone from Morricone to Cipriani to Bruno Nicolai to, all the Pieros, Umiliani, Piccioni, I think that's how you pronounce it. The guy who did that Radley Metzger film, Camille 2000. Just
Camille 2000.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's no, but that whole era of Italian film score is just, I get lost in those records. I can just slap on track after track. I think my favorite is probably still Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion. So much of that.
I don't know that.
That was a 1971 giallo, starring I think Dagmar Lysander, and it's about this uptown wife who's basically being given the Hitchcock-driven insane treatment by a mysterious stalker, and she's wondering if he has blackmail on her husband, who's a businessman with all these various deals and so forth. And it becomes very much Italian Hitchcock light.
Right.
But it's a fast film, and it kind of defined a lot of what the director Luciano Ercole would go on to do. But it also features one of my favorite actresses, which is Nieves Navarro, as playing support as the friend of Lysander. Character's name, I believe, is Dominique. And she's just... how a lot of people have, there was that whole kerfuffle about, how to write for women in film and television, media representation and all that.
Right.
I laugh at that now, especially knowing that there's a character like Dominique who is almost purely feminine in every way, but is not only, a very strong-willed kind of character, but also is just so effortlessly enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's a character who you actually get. She's not the main focus, but it's always a treat when she's on screen because she always brings a personality and a very sincere quality to the film.
How to write women in film. Yeah, but there's a lot of, you can tell when it's bullshit because it's, it. You can, so if they, in the past, there wasn't this thing where it was forced on you and they had to be super, like the female character could not do certain things, utterly realistic things were banned, and could not perform or behave even like a woman, and she wasn't not even allowed to really anymore. So you could sense it was forced. And when in the past, if there was a strong female, it was just like normal, natural. It was like realistic. I don't know. There wasn't. You didn't feel this bullshit. Your bullshit alarm didn't go off.
Oh, totally. And I mean, there are great examples of that too. Because I mean, I know everyone talks about like damsels in distress in a variety of genres. But honestly, one of the greatest examples is going back to fucking Creature of the Black Lagoon. Let me remember the actress who played it, because her performance in that, Creature from the Black Lagoon. There is a
I remember. I've seen it several times, but I don't remember.
Julia Adams. Julia
Okay.
Adams was the actress who played the female lead in it, and she is terrific. She is terrific in that film, and it's such a natural role that I believe when I actually had to sit down and do a I did some silly thing on representation for like a sociology class way back in like high school or whatever. And I actually mistook her for a scientist, for being an actual scientist in the film, even though she technically isn't, because that's how natural and, totally in the zone the character is in the place of the film. And of course, yeah, she screams and loses her mind, when, giant monsters and shit are coming, for him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But, that's another good example of how early some of this quality representation and material, was there, as far as writing goes, as far as
Yeah, that's actually
goes.
a great movie. So simple and so well done with the costume and the swimming around and the whole thing. Like,
if it's good enough for Ingmar Bergman, patron saint of the art house, is good enough for the rest of us. I don't know what else to say.
What did Ingmar Bergman say about? He said something positive about it.
Ingmar Bergman watched Creature from the Black Lagoon every day on his birthday. Every day on his birthday. I swear to God.
His favorite movie.
Favorite movie every day. And you know what the funniest thing is? I share a birthday with Ingmar Bergman, July 14th.
Oh, you better do the same thing, I guess.
I'll make it a ritual, pray to the shrine.
Someone says, have you seen A Pure Formality? Rob Brown says, have you seen A Pure Formality? No, what's that? Is it?
You've caught the emperor with his clothes off. I have not seen
he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Da, da, da.
He also says, Vingo says, what is it? Okay.
It's a Giuseppe Tornatore, the guy who did Legend of 1900 and Cinema Paradiso. It's from the director of that, and it's a Gerard Depardieu. It's Roman Polanski playing opposite of him, and it's one of the films Morricone's. Well, to be fair, I think Morricone basically scored every one of Tornatore's films, so that's not a surprise to see Morricone in there. But
you ever see?
I'll check that out.
You ever see Machine Gun McCain?
That's the one with John Cassavetes, right?
Yeah. Of course, that's good. Yeah. That's
I know I have not seen it yet, but
you have to see that. Oh, it's good.
I need to though, because that fucking Morricone record has been lodged in my skull.
That's one of my favorite of his is that one. Even though the music and the way they use it in the film is excellent.
It's funny too. It's funny too, because one of those cues, I think it's the striptease cue, is just incredibly rich, incredibly melodious, and it's just, you sit there and you just bathe in the music. That's one of those records that you can just, and I imagine it feels somewhat similarly in the film, or at least it stands in contrast to all of the crime, all the the gangster kind of stuff happening in the film. But it's a kind of track you can just swim in. The kind of music you can just swim in, and I really love Morricone. Like, this dropping all pretension, I just worship that man. I really do, especially because of all the lounge stuff, all the stuff he'd go on to do in the big Western films he'd do, like The Thing and The Untouchables, and just so much good shit that man made.
He was very, very creative, very original. I mean, that whole scene in Italy at that time was very original, but even amongst all them, he was extra original.
He was absolutely
weird musical choices and weird sounds.
He was absolutely the king of it, and they were all absolute machines. I mean, seeing the amount of films these people were scoring in a year is like, get good, basically. Like, I'm clearing freaking 10 films a year. What the hell are you doing with your life? Like, oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, those are some of the people I admire most. I admire people that can do volume and 9 out of 10 quality. I say 9 out of 10 because I'll mention a few names that don't always bat 1,000, like, Jess Franco, who's just an absolute film generator.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
because not all of his films worked, especially when you're running that fast and that cheap. Not all the films work. I don't even think, because I know a lot of people make a big to do about She Killed in Ecstasy. I don't think it's that
I
great a
don't know that
film.
one. I don't know that one.
It was
What?
one of the last films I believe he did with Soledad Miranda before the car accident took her.
Okay.
So this was I think
You mean
after
you mean Jesus Franco? Is it Jesus Franco? Is that what you're talking about?
Jesus Franco, yes.
You said Jess Franco, and that's the last name.
That's the not the Western pseudonym. I know he had a bunch of pseudonyms.
Isn't that
but
some actor, some modern actor called Jess? Am I wrong? Is there an actor called
no,
Jess?
you're thinking James Franco. Jess
Oh,
Franco
that's
is
it.
just
Sorry.
one of the shorthands for Jesus Franco.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, sorry. No.
But yeah, so and I think She Killed in Ecstasy, I think was either done the same year as Vampiros Lesbos or later on in the year. Probably would have been the same, to be honest.
You could watch his Fu Manchu movies, or his what's the one he did with the really sexy girl that I like, kind of like Eugenie, but it's supposed to be like a, what's it called? It's got like Christopher Lee's in it. Yeah, her name's Eugenie.
I know the one. Eugenie, the story of her journey into perversion, I believe, is the subtitle to that. I own.
right.
Own the. I'm not even joking when I say I have that. I only have a handful of Franco's films, and the ones I own are Venus in Furs, which is a fun surrealist trip.
Yeah.
I own Eugenie because I love the Bruno Nicolai score, and also that film is a pretty good looker. Like, as compositionally, some of the cinematography in there is really good, classic stuff from the Mediterranean. Just wonderful to look at.
Then he made some almost outright porn films. Pretty much, I didn't see them, but did he?
Yeah.
Am I right? He did. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
using
using
the same actress who I think he was married to. Beautiful girl. What was her name?
I think that was Lena Romay.
Yeah,
I think
her. She's Mexican.
Yeah, because she was in what they did, the Countess Perverse, which was his take.
She was
off
in
on
lots of his movies. She appeared in so many of his movies.
Yeah, and actually, for my birthday, because I don't know what to ask for my birthday these days, so it's like, when someone asks like, "Hey, what do you want?" I'm like, I literally threw a dart and said, "Hey, Severin just released this new Blu-ray of Faceless." The 88 film he did with Helmut Berger, Brigitte Lahaye, who was in a bunch of the Jean Rollin films like Fascination.
Okay.
And I think Grapes of Death was one of the other films she was in. Bizarre cast too, because you get beneath that you get Telly Savalas, Caroline Munro, Chris Mitchum, who looks like Clint Eastwood throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Anton Driffing, who is I can't pronounce his last name for the life of me, but he's one of the big German character actors. Who's always wound up being cast as like Nazis and weird stuff like that in films.
Okay, yeah.
No, but when Franco is given enough of a budget or enough free reign, he does some pretty like impactful stuff. Even as just
you'd remember him, all right. You'd always remember him.
Oh, totally. Same thing with Jean Rollin, although I think the difference is that Jean Rollin was basically forced to do the porn to fund his art. That poor man. If you look at his fucking filmography between certain films, it's like, sweet Jesus.
Well, shit, I'm drawing. What's his name? Orson Welles at one point was like doing editing porn films just to finish his film.
Yeah,
he never finished.
There was. It was. I think he had done that. I think that was while he was working on Other Side of the Wind with John Huston and all that. I think that was
the thing he never. The one he never finished. That one,
yeah. Not until like Netflix whipped it up. 2018, I think it was.
Well, they didn't actually put the film together, did they? They just made a documentary about it. I thought. Did they actually put his footage together?
No, they formally released it, and Michel Legrand wrote the. Michel Legrand came in and did the score on it.
Oh, so
which
you can
makes
watch
sense.
it.
Yeah, you can actually see the film, and there are some gorgeous shots in that during like the really experimental parts with his lover from the time, Oja, whatever.
Yeah, the weird. She's Hungarian or something, or Polish or something.
Yeah, beautiful woman too, and he shoots. Yeah. He shoots those scenes like he's fucking Mario Bava with all the multi colors and all the light and shade.
Right.
Really fun stuff.
Oh,
And
I
a
gotta see
wild
this.
cast.
Shit, I didn't know that. I gotta see this.
Yeah, no, and I'm hoping that they put it on DVD, and they're not turning like into every other streaming service where a bunch of their shit just never makes it to home video.
Oh, you know what I wanted to say earlier too, just to bring it down from the big brain stuff here to
Yeah,
the
sure thing.
to the lower to the small brain stuff. When you're talking about VHS tapes, it just sprang in my mind of all the VHS that I used to have that that are long gone. The one I missed the most that I wish I had was my copies of the old BBC Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah, oh my god, that's a
I
fun
had all
one.
that on VHS and it's gone, and I'm not sure I've seen it since those days. Well,
Right.
maybe I must have, because I never saw it on YouTube or anything. And I used to love that show.
Yeah, there are a few. There are a few odds and ends, from like there's the odd kid show you remember watching that you can't find anywhere on tape. You find a handful of like people kind enough to rip the fucker and put it online. But
Yeah.
I'm fortunate in that there isn't a whole lot that's been lost. I went down a weird rabbit hole once where because over here stateside, and I think also elsewhere, but they have Golden Books, which is a family like children's book publishing house, and they had a they had a home video division. It was how a lot of the Rankin Bass Christmas specials got out, and there was this one for some Christian whatever, I think it was like Precious Moments, which was that weird cutesy angel shit from like back in the 90s, where everything looks like the kind of shit you see plastered on like elementary school boards but with Christianity. And during the trailer reel, there was this weird string of trailers for stop motion fairy tales and like nursery rhyme tapes that are all these riffs on all these classic stories, but done with kind of a slightly, not terribly irreverent, because it's still meant for kids, but a slightly irreverent takeoff. And I discovered it was from the same guy who was adapting stuff like the Frog and Toad books and all the Ralph S. Mouse stuff in stop motion. And so it's like, that's the only time I've ever had a real rabbit hole moment with, my tapes. And I think I still have that Precious Moments or whatever. I never owned any of his actual films. Just I found his trailers on that tape, and it like lodged in my memory. For a while there, I didn't know if it existed until I looked it up, because I'm like, it's got to be somewhere. Someone's got to rip the whole thing, trailers and all. And sure enough,
the saddest thing is to contemplate, obviously, from all this talk, this nostalgia talk and these things we're talking about, is the Gallo and all the rest of it, is that there's nothing comparable to that today. It really is there. I mean, unless you know of some that I'm missing out on. All those fantastic eras that you could say there's stuff maybe that is, at least we haven't, that I'm not aware of, that's passable or good, but it's probably not as stylish or as amazing.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's like with anything, it is those who are truly devoted to their craft, devoted to it like in total essence, and devoted to emulating those elements, not just pastiche, not parody, but emulation. Sincerely taking all these aesthetics, all these concepts, and breathing them back to life. There are a few that still do it. I know Neo Giallo was there for a while. It's kind of been in and out, but there was that filmmaking team that did Amer, and I think The Strange Color of Her Body's Tears.
I didn't see this. Okay.
There was wonderful the Onetti brothers, which I believe are Argentinian, did a handful of these. Deep Sleep, I think, in 2013. This really fun one in 2015 called Francesca that I did a review, and I literally told them the only thing that gave this away that this was shot on digital, because I'm not joking, it was color graded and had effects laid in, to the point that the only way you could tell that it was shot on digital is that sometimes there is not motion smoothing, but the shutter speed gives away the the digital, where it moves like it's in 60 frames, like all of a sudden it's a fucking soap opera, for like 5 frames. But that was literally the only thing. That's a work of authenticity. That's a work of something that's really devoted someone devoted to that vision and seeing it to its end. That's the reason why I really dig, to plug your shit for a little bit, but that's one of the reasons why I really dig Aegeon, because you have so committed to that kind of resurrection of the sort of mid-century, not directly,
thanks.
it's not like you're ripping off like Bonestell or Valigursky covers and stuff like that, and you're not writing pastiches of Zelazny and Dick and so forth. But you're taking that core ethos and that core aesthetic veneer of vintage science fiction, fantasy, weird fiction from that period, and just bringing it back as it was, no frills. That's when I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people around here like knock on, Tarantino and so forth, and I tend to dig most of his films. But the one thing I won't really forgive him for, alongside Rodriguez, was Grindhouse in 2007, where all you had to do was I liked the core idea of Grindhouse, the concept of doing an actual double feature with all these trailers and stuff, but it lapsed so hard into parody and into pastiche. The whole neo-exploitation thing that happened thereafter was just
after that.
I know the skin suit. I know skin suit that's thrown around a lot. That's a skin suit example. Not out of any malice or anything, but just because that's the template as set.
Yeah.
And so people follow that template. And that's not even knocking all the filmmakers, because a lot of them still do practical effects, like stuff like Hobo with a Shotgun. I know that was a lot of practicals, like the Wolf Cop thing out of Canada. Joe Bagos kind of sort of came up during this with like films like Mind's Eye, before going on and doing all of like the VFW and Bliss. I think Bliss was 2019 or so.
I don't know these either. I don't know that.
But, that's because they're modern films. Don't worry about them.
See, like with Aegeon, I wasn't that. See, it's a good point. Wait, like I wasn't even trying to revive. I was just like, I just wanted to. I was aware that I was like retracing steps in time to a certain degree, but just going back to the point where I could excise what I consider to be bullshit, and anything that, if I felt it took a ruinous detour and sci-fi in general, and this kind of literature would vanish from our lives for the I could see the reasons why. And so I felt I could see it could flourish and live again, not just in pastiche and imitation, but that all you have to do is go back and just don't follow the values that led it this other way, which ruined it. And it could be there's so much room for, there's so much more that could be done, and more creativity and more ideas that can come out of it. As long as you don't go down that road, then that's all there is to it. So I don't currently imbibe a lot of stuff, old stuff or new stuff. So I try to, whatever is in there from me anyways, is like just directly out of my head. As much, obviously I have my influences, my experience, but things I love, authors I love, they're always part of your subconscious, I guess. But so it's not trying to be like a dead, like, or not like, as you said, skin suit. This term skin suit means you're just like slipping into you're like utter, like total imitation or total fanboy.
Yeah, the absolute surface level.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind the Grindhouse you said, like when I first saw it, when it was all the trailers together and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that. It was very over the top. You're right. It was like a pastiche.
I love it, as you can see. Yeah.
Yeah. Afterwards, when I saw it, let me just say this. Afterwards, when they broke it up, and I saw it, like, especially when I saw Death Proof on its own, that he like made it into its own full movie, I was really disappointed with that. I thought this is not very good at all.
Right.
But,
and it's just it's one of those things. I mean, this isn't a one-to-one, but I like the program aspect of it, where you have the trailers tucked in and you have all the old interstitials and snipes, like the R-rated, adult, was it a panther or something, the kitty cat thing,
right.
As well as the famous feature presentation with Keith Mansfield's Funky Fanfare.
Yeah, I love that song.
I dig a lot of that stuff, and I've done that to a lesser extent and with weirder results on DVDs, where I've sat down and I've collected various shorts I found, edited together little collage projects from like home video and library stock footage, all for private viewing, as part of like working on scripts. Because when I started working on screenplays, I I really wanted to get my head into that headspace. I wanted to really just kind of say, I know I'm doing a lot of this on a computer. I know I'm doing a lot of this with a flat screen television. I know I'm doing a lot of this on a Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
But I want to disassociate from all of that, disassociate from all of these mediums, and return to at least the sensations, or how I imagine some of the sensations of, I'm writing a script that's set in 82 that flashes back to the 60s and 70s. So I want home movies from that period. I want short films from that period, and I want to kind of assemble it all with, appropriately collected trailers and proper music to create this sort of total vision of this era as I want to inhabit it, sort of.
So
and
you're
I've burned
yeah.
a lot of DVDs doing that kind of stuff, and it's gotten some really good results, but some of it's also just kind of, I'm too lazy to look it up, pop the disc in, hit play, let it run its course.
Right. So your ultimate goal, I'm assuming, is to make film. Is that right? Is that accurate?
I'd say so, but I also I find a lot of joy in a lot of the other things that I do, because music was kind of the first love, because it was the first thing I really got into. Like, I started arranging and transcribing sometime in middle school, so around the time I was like 13, 14. And then I started writing originals once I got 15, 16, and I started really experimenting and not just trying to do the classical thing, but then going into jazz and going into electronica. And, alongside that, I'm writing these little stories, because it's the only thing you can do at that age, until I also got my hands on some cameras, whether it was, something as crazy as filming with my school provided laptop's webcam. And mind you, these are MacBooks, so I'm like dangling thousands of dollars of technology to get this shot of like a knife dropping. And just weird, abstract, dumb shit.
You just reminded me of. I must tell you this. Sorry, because I haven't thought about this for years. But me and a buddy, we live in an apartment.
See you around, Vingle. Peace out.
Oh yeah, he's gone now. Well, we'll shut it down pretty quick here. It's been over an hour, and I have to go. I don't want to be up too late, but I lived with another guy. Or was it two other guys? I remember we were like in our young days, we were partying and stuff, and I had a machete for some. We had a machete from somewhere, I don't know what, and we hung it from the ceiling on a string, like a little bit of thread, like point down over this chair.
Right.
And this was the chair of incredible peril, and anybody who sat in it, like if it broke off the string, it would go into your skull, like. We just, for no reason, we had this in the house, and we would sit there all the time. It never fell on anybody, luckily. But I don't know why you made me think of that for the first time in years. But that was funny.
That reminds me, because there's literally a shot I did for one of these weird little dumb art house experiments when I was in high school, where literally it was just a shot of me. I'm doing Dutch angles against this like paneled wood surface. It was a wall or something, or maybe siding, and I'm just dropping a knife through the frame. I don't know what the hell it was supposed to go into. A body, the floor, I don't fucking know. I just get this really cool shot of all these Dutch angles of the knife falling and falling and falling, and I'm doing this with $1,000 fucking laptop's webcam.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
So you'd be happy. So you're saying that ultimately you'd be happy to write stories and do a bit of music, and you're not too bothered if you don't have like
a burning desire to make a film necessarily.
I think so long as I get the stories I want told out into the world, that I'll be content doing whatever it takes. And that's kind of the way I've built up, and this will be a good note to wrap up on, but this is kind of the way I've built up 365. The 365 Vivid Tree is multimedia. We're doing a radio-styled audio production with Alan Firedale, Desert Delinquent.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing flash stories. We're doing an illustrated quarterly. That's free to the public, and then gets collected at the year's end with a final round of editing polish thrown on. and then of course the chance to do revisions because it's not tied up with any publishing house. I'm writing music. I did this really great single that's up on the Bandcamp, but I'll drop the link to this in private. But I did this really great single with a fellow Iron Age creative, JVP Music, called Wolves of Steel. That's a straight up heavy metal instrumental that's inspired by the likes of Sabbath and Deep Purple, with a lot, with a bit of bit of the John Lord-esque organ and these very heavy kind of riffs.
Check that out.
And so it's all that. And on top of that, I do have plans for potential animated projects, which is why I said I wanted to get better at illustration. So, because a lot of people think, oh, it has to be exactly this. I must pay people thousands of millions of dollars to get, this done, that done, millions of storyboards and stuff. If you can competently draw, decent form, good handle on light and shade, literally animatics are the way to go. Because it presents the vision in a rough manner, but it presents the vision very closely enough. And you can also get away with temp tracking like the Dickens. So I can slap on, if I want to do an entire short film set to Judas Priest's Jawbreaker, I can fucking do that shit. No one's going to stop me because it's not like I'm selling the thing. And, it's not like, the publishers like at Epic or CBS, although maybe when they find this, they'll be like, oh, we gotta fucking snuff this kid out. But it's you in that phase, you do whatever it takes to get your vision from your mind onto the screen. And so that's a lot of creative freedom. And I think a lot of people should take advantage of that if they want to also work on, getting the ball rolling on their, film projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 365 is the whole package. That's the way I like to pitch it.
Oh yeah, so I'll add the link in the description to 365.
Fab.
And I'll do that when I'm done. But yeah, so I guess that's it. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say it's fun. It's fun for a need no introduction kind of stream where it's just tonight, Jacob Calta. Dude, I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to write the fucking ad copy on this. Dude, it's been a blast. I love hanging out with you, man. I really do. You're terrific.
Yeah, well, your amazing wealth of knowledge on these things is impressive, and really a great encyclopedia of excellent taste in this matter too. Because most people, I don't know.
Thank you.
It's a bit more. You think these things are subjective, and then it seems like as time goes on, I feel more and more vindicated in matters of taste that I had back in the day that I would have argued with people about and felt alone in my opinion. But as time goes on, I always feel like, look, I was proven right once again. Many decades later.
Right.
But
I'd say my cap off to that too is I came to a lot of this naturally. I came to, I found my love of Hitchcock, when I first saw Strangers on a Train. I found my
such a good movie. Such a good movie.
Found my love of science fiction, through the early Star Trek, through 2001. Through
even what you said about Star Trek. You know what? There's so few people that love that first Star Trek movie, like that will accept that is the best one. Yeah. It's such a rare thing, but it is absolutely the best one. You just have to make them watch it again a few more times or something. I don't know what it is.
And it's that on top of all the Jerry Anderson stuff that I watch, and then on top of the stuff that I have been reading, because I started reading, Orwell and Richard Adams, and then when I started expanding the palette, I got into Philip K. Dick, I got into Harlan Ellison, and I started expanding my palette in all different directions, right down to the fine art aspect. I find great inspiration in just looking at a painting and appreciating a painting, and though I don't have physical access to the genuine article, I can't go to a conservatory. I can't go to a museum right now. We still have dozens of these suckers scanned all over. So literally, if you want a little culture in your home, print the fucker out, put it in a frame, hang it on the wall, and admire that son of a bitch if you really, damn well please. Right. And all this stuff combined to kind of create this weird, not even necessarily weird, but this very, melting pot approach I've cultivated in all my work. I melt genres together. I melt, stories together. I melt, kind of film concepts and techniques together.
Oh, that's how you make the new. That's how you make the new thing, the new original thing. Is by melting the. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I hope to at least lead by example, because I know that part of that whole weird, dumb Twitter kerfuffle is people basically arguing over stuff they all agree about, which at the end of the day is you cannot rely on. You have to at least know your audience, but you cannot rely strictly on what modern markets are providing for, because modern markets aren't doing shit. You are
they're doing nothing. Yeah,
you're drop in the ocean, and so
you have to take a chance on your own ideas. When you have enough confidence, you take a chance, even if they're totally wacky. And sometimes it'll fall flat.
Yeah.
But
all right, here's my final. Then we can get the hell off of this. But
okay.
I the one thing I would encourage everyone is to look for stronger voices. I'm not perfect, but I try to have a hell of a yell in my work. But I also look up to people who were that dogged, that determined, willing to have their vision at all costs. Whether it's an actor like Patrick McGowan, who's a fucking firebrand in Henrik Ibsen's Brand. He did that wonderful performance, which is intense. And of course his work in The Prisoner. To Bernard Herrmann, who defied all of Hollywood film music convention and is probably the one composer who has most influenced film music for it. To guys like Harlan Ellison, which would throw you out a plate glass window if you didn't dig what he was doing.
Yeah.
But just people who knew exactly what they wanted, and they were going to have it by any fucking means necessary. And I think we see a lot of wiffle waffling. We see a lot of people not willing to commit. And we see a lot of people who just don't know their voice yet, which that's natural. That's part of the creative process, is finding that voice. But once you do, shout it from the rooftops and stay as consistent as you can in that. Whether it's consistent in experimentation or consistent in, this is the lane I want, these are the kind of stories I like to tell. Everyone else can go suck a lemon. To get back to the gang speak.
Yeah, ooh. That's real tough talk. Suck a lemon.
I know, fun times. I stole that from a Simpsons episode, but anyhow.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, look, that's very good. Very good. Excellent way.
Conclusion. Nice way to wrap it up. So, yeah.
Good talking to you again. And good luck with everything you're doing. And
all right,
we'll both keep on trucking with our stuff, and
absolutely,
and that's it. Yeah. So,
and
we'll do this again sometime. Probably another
for sure
6 months or something.
For sure. I don't know. Yeah. We'll set a watch. We'll set a watch for it.
Okay.
All right. Godspeed, everyone.
Goodbye.